getting off specific transport for a while, a little concerned reading all your banners with the phasing of the whole project. It doesn't seem to me that a lot of the facilities which are required are coming along in a timely fashion to keep up with the building rate. If you look, for instance, at the provisions of the SANGs, until you get nearly 3,000 houses, the only significant SANGs available is poor old Dashwood, which is going to get fairly hammered for quite some years before the other planned ones come on stream. I think you maybe are going to have a look, and I note that Natural England and various other statutory authorities have also drawn attention to this. We're going to have to look at the phasing of the SANGs coming online to make sure that they are in step with the building of the houses. Equally, again, phasing, we've talked about the BRT. The BRT doesn't come online until you've got about 1,500 houses. That means that for all that time, before it comes online, you are entirely reliant on your motor car, or is there an intention, for instance, to reroute the bus that goes through Knowle in the interim, or how? I think you have to look at what happens before the BRT comes on, because otherwise they're stranded in the middle of nowhere. It's Knowle plus thing. Equally, we talked about the rubbish, household waste down there. Fine, there is one, but again, according to the phasing, you've got, thousands of houses before that seems to come online, which seems to be faintly barking. It would seem obvious that the household waste has to be one of the earlier things that arrive, not one of the latter ones. And I could go on, but I won't go into detail. I think your Chief Planning Officer mentioned it, one of the things, quite apart from the specifics of the actual application, you're going to have to look very, very hard at, is whether the phasing of the infrastructure is in line with the building.
Okay, thank you. They're very good points. For those that aren't into the acronym SANGs, that's alternative natural green space that developments require. They don't have all the space within the outline of the planning application, and they need to provide additional green space as close as conveniently possible. The points you make are very valid. Bear in mind, this is a planning application from Buckland, not from Farnborough Council, and the sort of points that you're raising about phasing are important, and they will be for the council to determine. Do we agree with what Buckland is doing, what they're proposing the phasing should be? I think we need to bear in mind that obviously developments need to be viable. There's a few hundred, literally £300 million plus of infrastructure works have to go into Wellbourne. Clearly, they're not all going to go in at the beginning. Nobody is going to build a secondary school before a house is built, for instance. They're not going to bring buses into a development because there are 10 houses there. So it is very important that the phasing is got right. This is Buckland's proposal for how they think it should work. We will need to work with Buckland before determining that planning application to make sure that that actually does work, and that we think the infrastructure, the most important thing, and I've always said this, it's critically important that every single piece of infrastructure for Wellbourne, that before anybody starts digging a hole and putting one brick on another brick, we know where it's all going to go, we know where it's going to be provided, we know who's going to pay for it, and that phasing sets out exactly what's going to come and when it's going to come. And that is something that is, now we have the ability, having talked about it for over a decade, to actually make sure that that works, but bearing in mind, of course, that it has to be viable, and there's no point saying, well, if, for example, we're expecting 2,000 affordable houses in there, we couldn't say, well, the first 2,000 have to be those, and then the other 4,000 will be open market housing. It has to be what the development will bear, and the biggest piece of infrastructure, most importantly, Junction 10, is in phase 1. I think that's probably the biggest, most important piece that anybody would criticise Buckland and indeed Fareham if that wasn't being provided at the beginning rather than ages through the development.